There's an elephant in Mozambique who flinches at the sound of a truck. Not a gunshot, not a person, a truck. Diesel engine, tires on dirt, still a few hundred yards off. And she's already tense, ears flared, body angled to run. The war that taught her that sound ended 25 years ago. That's not instinct. Instinct doesn't know the difference between a supply truck and a tourist Land Cruiser. What she's running is something closer to a memory, filed away since she was young enough to still be standing next to her mother, and never deleted. So here's the question I can't quite shake. If you've ever heard an animal, on purpose or not, a swat, a shove, a door slammed too hard, is some version of that moment still sitting in its head, right now, waiting? We tell ourselves animals live entirely in the present. No yesterday, no tomorrow, just this exact second. It's a nice story. The dog forgets the kick by dinner time. The cat holds no grudges. Convenient, because it means whatever we do, the slate wipes itself clean by morning. Except that's not actually how memory works in a lot of these animals. Not in elephants, not in crows, not in dolphins or octopuses or, weirdly enough, some fish. And it's not because they're more forgiving than we are. It's because for a species that lives in a world full of things that can kill it, forgetting who's dangerous is not a personality trait. It's a fatal design flaw. Evolution doesn't usually build that in for free. Here's the part that actually bothers me a little. We like to think of ourselves as the species with the long memory, the storytellers, the ones who never let anything go. But put a stranger's face in front of a human for 3 seconds, and most of us can't reliably pick it out of a lineup the next day. A crow can, 20 years later. New jacket, different hat, completely different haircut, doesn't matter. So maybe the question was never whether animals remember. It's how much, and how exactly that memory gets built. In 2011, a researcher named McComb at the University of Sussex ran a study in Amboseli, Kenya. That's still one of the cleanest pieces of evidence we have. Her team wanted to know if wild elephants could tell human groups apart. Not just human versus not human, but specific populations. In that region, Maasai men have a long history of spearing elephants in retaliation disputes over grazing land. Kamba men, living in the same area, essentially never do. So McComb's team ran a simple test. No visual contact at all, just a red cloth, the kind Maasai men traditionally wear, laid where elephants would catch the scent. Or a recording, played from a hidden speaker, of an adult male voice, sometimes Maasai, sometimes Kamba, sometimes a Maasai woman, sometimes a boy. The elephants didn't react to human, they reacted to category. Adult Maasai male voice or scent, and the herd shifted immediately, matriarch repositioning the group, calves pulled toward the center, bodies angling away. Kamba men, Maasai women, Maasai children, barely a flicker. They repeated the trial across multiple families, scrambled the order so no group got the scary sound first every time, and the pattern held. This wasn't a fluke. This was elephants sorting an entire ethnic group of humans by threat level, off nothing but a smell and a pitch of voice. Crows do something even stranger, and it's a story I genuinely love. In 2006, a wildlife biologist named John Marsluff at the University of Washington had his research assistants put on a rubber caveman mask, the cheap Halloween kind, before trapping and banding 7 wild crows on campus. Nothing violent, just the ordinary stress of getting caught, tagged, and released. After that, any time that exact mask reappeared, on a different body, different clothes, different walk, the crows lost it. Screaming, dive-bombing, following the mask across the quad, swapped the mask onto someone else, and the reaction traveled with the rubber face, not the person wearing it. And here's the detail that still gets me. Years later, Marsluff has kept checking. Some of those original 7 crows, now well into old age for a crow, still recognize that mask. Out of the hundreds of faces crossing the campus every single day, theirs is the one that never got overwritten. But hold on, because there's a wrinkle in the crow story that complicates the whole personal memory idea. In 2012, Marsluff's team went back and did something clever. They checked which crows were actually mobbing the mask, and it turned out most of them had never been anywhere near the original trapping. Some weren't even hatched yet when it happened. So how would a crow that was never caught know to be furious at a face it's never personally been hurt by? The answer, and it's a good one, they learned it from their parents. A young crow watches an adult scold that face and files it under dangerous, no direct experience required. Across 5 years, the share of crows reacting to that single mask climbed from 20% to 60%. almost entirely through what researchers call social learning. Not memory, exactly. Something closer to inherited suspicion, passed wing to wing, generation to generation. Which means it's probably not quite right to say a crow remembers the man who trapped it in 2006. What it remembers, what gets handed down, is closer to a wanted poster. Constantly updated. No original witness required to keep the case open. And the elephant in Mozambique is likely doing something similar. She may not be replaying one specific soldier's face. She's carrying a category: engine noise, vehicle shape, the speed of something approaching, and reacting to the category itself. Whoever happens to be behind the wheel today. Now here's where it stops being just a science lesson. At the Sheldrick Wildlife Trust, an elephant orphanage outside Nairobi, most of the calves who arrive have watched poachers kill their mothers. Some are found standing next to the body for days afterward, refusing to leave. In their first week at the nursery, they panic at almost anyone who gets close, including the keepers who are only there to bottle feed them. One of those calves was named Eleanor. Eleanor grew up at Sheldrick, healed, and eventually was released back into the wild. And then she did something nobody had trained her to do. She came back. Not once. Eleanor became one of the matriarchs who now regularly meets newly released orphans at the edge of the wild herd, sits with the most terrified ones for hours, and eases them in. Nobody can prove Eleanor remembers being that scared calf in the same way a person would narrate a memory. But you don't need a narration to see the pattern. She seeks out the most panicked ones. Every time. It doesn't always resolve that gently. A 2022 study by Alicia Butner and Rosemary Strasser, published in Applied Animal Behavior Science, looked at dogs rescued from commercial breeding mills and hoarding situations, the kind of neglect that leaves animals malnourished, under-socialized, terrified of hands, even after rescue. Even in a safe, loving shelter environment. Their cortisol levels, the hormone that spikes under stress, stayed significantly higher than dogs who'd had normal early lives. Their bodies hadn't gotten the memo that the danger was over. Somewhere underneath the wagging tail, the alarm was still on. Two animals, two very different endings for the exact same wiring, a body built to remember harm, whether or not the harm is still happening. So, back to where we started. If you've ever yelled at a dog until it flinched, or kicked a cat out of frustration, or just walked past an animal that needed help and didn't stop, it probably isn't replaying your face like a movie. That's not how this works. What it's carrying is smaller and stranger than that. A scent, a tone of voice, the particular rhythm of footsteps, already filed under danger, ready to fire the next time something close enough comes along. And the reverse is just as true, which is honestly the part worth sitting with. Every time you slow down for a stray, every time you talk quietly to a dog that's shaking, you're being filed into that exact same system. Just on the other shelf. The elephant in Mozambique doesn't know the war ended. All she knows is that sound used to mean death, and nothing has told her otherwise. So maybe the real question was never whether animals remember us. It's what, exactly, you're giving them to remember. She still remembers.